weather forecast scared everybody, but few people in the group excited to talk about trade shows. In fact, what you're going to get is insight from someone who has been to and attended many and knows how to compare to the experts who run the trade shows to kind of give you the insight as to what's happening. And let's face it, the trade show industry has changed dramatically across many different industries. Right? In our world, accessories world, there used to be accessory trade shows. There aren't anymore. They're gone. There used to be accessory show, accessory market, gone. Now the Magic Project Coterie, so knowing where to show up in that brand of shows is kind of hard to tell sometimes. And then there's a lot of niche shows and regional shows. So how do you know which is the right one for you? And then how you make the most of it once you decide and you commit, because they're not cheap. You're investing in one of the marketing tools. So Vanessa and I are going to have a conversation about bags or the shows. Mm-hmm. So if we see the settings.
I know. Cindy said I couldn't hear, so I was adjusting.
If Vanessa sits maybe here and I'll sit here, you'll be able to hear and see her better.
Yeah.
Nope. Yeah. Hi. So first, thank you for joining us.
Yes, of course.
And the cool thing is that we have a small group. We are recording. Are we recording?
Yes.
Excellent. We're recording, so we'll be able to share the recording with anybody who didn't make it. And if you have questions along the way, please interject or comment. Yes, feedback. So Vanessa, you have a company that makes belts. So do you want to tell first a little bit about the brand and how you've grown your brand from idea to a mega belt company?
Yes, absolutely. So we'll face this way. So I am the co-founder of Auto Collection and the chief omni-channel officer. We are a women's accessory brand, and we primarily focus on women's belts. We started off working with specialty boutiques and really showcasing at trade shows, which that initially started off with, 50 accounts, 100 accounts, 200. And over the span of about 4 years, we grew to 1,500 to 2,000 specialty boutiques. And then we were able to start working with major retailers, which include everyone from Anthropologie, Nordstrom, Bloomingdale's, Neiman Marcus, and we've also done custom collections with different other companies like Swarovski, Zac Posen, and along the way, we grew from a trade show wholesale first company to then D2C, and then now going managing different distribution channels from like major retailers, D2C to specialty boutiques. And I think that for us, trade shows were pivotal in our growth. And I think that the way that a trade show is really leveraged for growth is really, really important. And I think really taking in consideration that it's not just showing up to a trade show and expecting that you're going to see instant growth or there's going to be this flooding of traffic and it's going to just require showing up. It really requires a lot of planning, a lot of strategic planning. It requires a lot of systematic communication, but then also a lot of personalization and intentionality along the way. And really leveraging the trade show as like an anchor to be able to communicate with potential accounts or buyers post trade show as well. Right? It's your starting point. And it doesn't necessarily mean that everything needs to happen at the trade show, but it's actually a huge opportunity for you to start the conversation, start the pitch, or start the meeting. And it can happen there, but maybe it will happen post show.
Gotcha. So I'm going to also just take a moment to introduce Sarah and Monalisa, who are with JCK.
I know we have people that aren't in the jewelry industry. JCK is the premier. If you're going to show your jewelry in the United States, you're going to go to JCK. And the cool thing is that they now have an accessory pavilion. So we're really excited about the opportunity there because, as you know, with accessories, you're always looking for new places to sell. And what they know is that the jewelry stores are looking for products beyond just traditional jewelry items. So there's a really nice synergy between what they're expanding at the JCK show and what our brands have to sell. Plus, if you have jewelry, you should know them. Anyway,
Yes.
so when we started talking about, do you want to run through your presentation? You want me to?
Whatever you'd like. Yeah, whatever is easiest for you.
Okay.
And, yeah.
When we were talking about doing this event, we were talking about launching a brand, and I know that a number of people on the on the screen are younger brands.
Yes.
So, how do you get started? How do you decide what the right show is for you, and then how do you start to approach those retailers?
Absolutely. Well, I think it's key for you to actually do research on the shows. If you can, walk the show, visit the show, have an idea of like, where would your brand fit in the trade show? Are there other brands there that, are similar to yours or that you would see as a competitor, which is a good thing, I think, to showcase in a trade show where there are other competitors because you know that there's going to be synergy with other buyers. So it's really about, walking the show, doing your research about the show, looking at the list of buyers who attend and making sure that those are buyers that you would like to reach out to. Because again, maybe you reach out to a buyer for either a specialty boutique or for a major retailer, and your outreach is based around the trade show. And let's say that they're not going to go, right? But you can start that conversation, right? So I think it's really looking at what buyers attend, are they aligned with you, walking the show itself, and then also looking at is it a large show or is it a regional show, right? Like how is it that you want to enter that market? Because the way that I have always organized it, looking at the United States, looking at, the Northeast, Southwest, West, and then, Southwest as well, and Pacific Northwest. Completely different customers, right? Completely different aesthetics, completely different lifestyles. So if you're a smaller brand and if you want to start off with a local show, looking at like, is it like Atlanta Mart or is it going to be, like a Dallas regional show or an LA show and you're going to start there. And looking at that trade show as your anchor for that entire region to reach out to retailers, both small and large. And I think with the accessories, you have so much flexibility because a gift shop can carry you, a jewelry shop can carry you, a larger retailer can carry you, a shoe store can carry you, right? Like you actually have so much flexibility to sit across the floor. So it's really answer your question, it's deciding, do you want to do a regional show or do you want to do a larger show like the New York show, or do you want to do a pavilion, right? Like, do you want to do an accessories pavilion that's in a larger show that gives you that gives you more of that specific like anchor that you could showcase around.
Gotcha. Mm-hmm. Why don't you run through what we have? And I'm sure bundling up tons of questions for you as we go along too.
Yeah. Okay, so today we're just going to quickly talk about really setting clear objectives for participating in a trade show. I think that at times many especially newer brands again have this idea that they're going to go to a trade show and it's going to be this rush of business, which can be the case. But to do that, you really need to set clear objectives, right? So, and measurable objectives. Like, who are your target buyers, and what are going to be your measurable goals. How many buyers would you like to meet with? But that really starts off with how many buyers are you reaching out to before the show, right? Because you have to do a lot of outreach prior to doing the trade show for you to actually be able to have meetings or have traffic that you meet with at the actual trade show. And then establishing those metrics before the show, right? Is it going to how many orders would you like to have, or how many buyers would you like to meet with? And that also includes post show as well, which is incredibly important. And then strategic buyer outreach will go into that as well, which is, you really want to make sure that you build personalized outreach campaigns to engage those key retailers. Doing just a mass email is not going to connect. That many people don't even open their emails anymore. You're dealing with like junk, but it might also just be that they're just going to delete. So it's really about layering your communication across multiple forms of communication. And then booth strategy and incentives.
I'm going to interject on
Yeah.
that, but we're going back to old snail mail.
Yes, we are.
I think that I agree. Nobody reads emails. People get flooded with text
Yes.
messages. We as an organization are mailing things physically, and we're encouraging our brands to physically start mailing again, because there's got to be something else to stand out.
Absolutely, to break through, right? Because that's what you want to do, is you want to try to break through to be able to connect with the buying team, or if not the buying team, their store manager or sales associates, right? Depending on what type of business it is. Is it a small business, a medium business, or a larger retailer? And then really thinking about your booth strategy and how you're going to engage with buyers, right? When they walk past. And then really, what is going to be the ROI, and how are you going to maximize that, right? How are you going to nurture these relationships post trade show so that they convert into sales, right? That many times, especially if you're a new brand, you might get it on a buyer's target list, who then later goes back, writes all of their orders, has some open to buy, and then decides to place an order. That might take a week, 2 weeks prior, but it is your responsibility to nurture that relationship and leverage what your investment was in the trade show so that you close that, right? So we'll go through that a little bit deeper, and I'll try to make it very quick. But like we said, you and I have talked about this, really setting those clear objectives for success. So making sure that you define your target buyers, you want to research and identify key retailers and influencers. And when I say influencers, it's not just your buyer, right? So it's your store manager, who actually really has so much power in what the buyer ends up buying, because in many cases a store manager is who feeds the buyer new information of like, hey, these are voids that we keep seeing, right? Somebody's coming in and asking for these kinds of earrings or a color. So it's really about making sure that you, when you are reaching out to buyers, that you also find the store manager or sales associate information, so that when you follow up again and you start building a communication strategy, you include everyone, right? And you want to establish, KPIs to set metrics, but these set metrics like leads generated, meetings scheduled, orders placed, and brand awareness milestones. So I think that thinking about a trade show, also about how you're actually growing brand awareness for your company, is really important, right? You can leverage being part of a trade show to create content for your D2C as well in some way, right? But you can also leverage it for press. You can also leverage it to reach out to buyers in another region, right? It gives you a sense of authority participating in a trade show, especially if you're a new brand, right? And then, like I said, you really want to layer personalized communication. So you want to reach out via phone, which I know sounds so insane sometimes, but I can let you know the way that we were able to grow from 50 accounts to, 1,500 to 2,000, it literally was by picking up the phone and calling every single person to introduce ourselves, to introduce a human to another human, letting them know that we're going to be at this trade show, and creating scripts, right? So this is what I mean about having systems, so that you have a script that you use, that so that you don't have to keep continuously thinking about what you're going to say. And I can let you know, we would call 500 to 1,000 buyers over the course of time, right? So after calling them, then it was sending an email with a custom assortment of what we think would be a great fit for their store, because we actually did research about their store, right? We saw what brands they carried, or we would pop in and try to see what the store was like. Social channels as well, right? Reaching out via Instagram. If your brand has a really strong, curated social presence, then leveraging that, right? A buyer is going to pop over to your Instagram and get an instant feel about your brand and your products. And then also snail mail, right? So if you're having a party and you don't invite people, how are they going to come to the party? So that's the way that we would think about snail mail, was creating a personalized invitation that was a piece of the brand. So with accessories, you could, we've sent out leather swatches that to talk about what the story is for the brand. You can send out a bead if something that's an invitation that gives them like a piece of what your brand is, and that's going to set you apart. Yeah. And then really looking at the outreach timeline, you really want to start about 90 days prior to the show. So you want to compile, a buyer list, and all trade shows for the most part have a list already. If not, they provide it. But then researching on your own. And I would say starting off on a local level and then growing out, right? So if you're going to do a show in New York, what are your key accounts that you'd like to target in New York City? Then go to the outer boroughs and then continue to go out to make it manageable. And then really looking at social media, visiting stores, and if you can, visiting stores even prior to let them know that you're going to be at the show. And then 60 days pre-show, launch a personalized outreach, via email, phone. LinkedIn is also really great. And then highlighting the key collections that you're going to be showcasing, your booth location. 30 days before, send targeted reminders and snail mail, right? So you want to send mail closer to the date so that it actually pinged, like it sparks something in them. And then, appointment scheduling links and special show incentives that are going to drive them to the booth. And then during the show, you want to make sure that you execute great booth presence with trained staff. There's so many times that I would walk past a booth and I would see a buyer approach, and the person who's at the booth just says, "Hi, how are you?" And then the buyer is like, "I'm good, how are you?" And then it didn't go anywhere else, right? There was just this like awkward staring at one another. And what's really important is that whoever is in the booth understands how they're going to navigate the booth, right? If a buyer walks past, this is what I say. And then this is how I engage them to come in. And as I navigate my booth, everything has to have like an actual purpose, right? This is our core collection. This is what our top sellers are. These are our immediate deliverables. This is the story behind our products. This is the story behind where our products are made. We are able to deliver X, Y, and Z. So making sure that whoever is in your booth is actually prepared to engage with your buyers, and you're not missing an opportunity, right? You want to make sure that you spark that connection in person.
I can say walking through a lot of trade shows this year, I go to booths and the person is actually on their computer. They're not even, they're kind of like doing their job. So you feel like you're interrupting them to even ask a question. What are some strategies I'm going to have the JCK team like that you've seen people do that have nailed it, especially new exhibitors?
Well, I think the exhibitors that come to the show that have the most success are sometimes the ones that bring an additional person to help them, because then that energy is already like a lot more comfortable, a little bit more laid back. And maybe that person is a little bit more outgoing and friendly. And sometimes as the business owner or the designer, you're not in the same space as someone who does sales, right? There's different skill sets. If you could do both, that's great. But I find when a new person comes in and they have success at the show, they usually have like someone else with them and they're just a little bit more easier to approach. And just smiling, not being on your phone, you know, the way you carry yourself, just already sets that warm tone and presence. I saw in your presentation just the way that your booth is presented for us because we are a jewelry trade show. Visuals are very important, and in the store, the way something is merchandised, it's already half sold. That's something that is really big in retail. And so when your presence is very clean and warm and friendly, I find that that already sparks that initial conversation with a buyer. And then also my role with the show is an attendee acquisition manager. I do the connection between the buyer and the vendor. And so a lot of times I will actually make that introduction as well on site, just to kind of warm both sides up. Because people are intimidated sometimes to approach them.
Oh, that's super helpful.
Yeah.
And what about in advance? How do you help with the 90-day before?
We're lucky with JCK because of the network that we're part of. Our ecosystem is about trade shows, so we have tools and teams that address a lot of the things that you mentioned in your presentation. Education is very big, and so the salesperson is very much up on all of these things, and they educate the vendor when they're coming to the show how to take advantage of everything that you need to do to be successful. And then we have tools, digital tools, and just departments that help navigate you from when you sign a contract to when you get on site and then even after. So it's just a nice community, you know, within the show that really wants to see you succeed. And so we do a lot of things, especially for new vendors, to retain them for the next year. We don't want to see you for 1 year and then you don't come back again. We definitely don't want
That's
that.
a great point. I mean, you have amazing points in here
Yes.
that I should pay attention to, but one of them is at big shows like ours, and I'm sure some others, there are these digital tools Mona's mentioned
Yes.
that are included with your booth presence, and you would be surprised how many people don't even take advantage of that. Filling out, you get a showroom, you get a digital showroom as part of your presence, that if you take the time pre-show to load products into it, tell your company description on it, buyers are going on that for the show to figure out who are they meeting with. So anyone who's not filling that out to its potential is missing out on that. And then there are other digital tools at show where you can capture leads of came to your booth, and then post-show go and look at your dashboard and see who is looking at your showroom. So taking advantage, just exploring what's included in the booth that I'm getting, and maybe a lot of these other things included, and just making sure, to Mona's point, that you're taking advantage of all of that in addition to all the things you're mentioning.
So the bigger shows, I think, really, you do a lot. It seems like there's a lot of opportunities, where a small regional show maybe doesn't have as much capability, but those are good questions to ask when you're, and good things to balance when you're figuring out, do I do one big one or am I gonna do two little ones? Like,
Yeah, absolutely. And I think to your point about not doing one trade show and then not coming back, I think something, and I'll talk a bit about it after this, but it's really important, I think, to think about committing to a trade show if you can for an entire year, because you really want to make sure that you see season after season. And I would say that buyers have to see you over and over again for that to come through. Like a data point that I'll share later, is that a buyer has to be reached out to on average 6 to 7 different times. And that means in various different ways, meaning your layered communication, for them to actually just acknowledge that you exist. And that's just, think about us as just everyday consumers. If you see a new brand and you see a logo, you're walking down the street and you see a logo, you know, you don't think about it. But then if you see a billboard and then you see it on the floor of a retailer and then you see it on Instagram, and then it starts to actually, we're bombarded by so much information. So if you just think about a buyer needing to see you or needing communication outreach 6 to 7 times, that in itself should, I think, give you enough permission to say, I'm going to really reach out, but then I'm also going to leverage all of the tools that the trade show has if you actually want to see a return in that investment.
I mean, sometimes you get lucky out of the gate, but I do think there's a lot of patience as
Yes.
a brand and trying to get into retail. Sometimes they might like your collection, but they might want to see what you do next to make sure that you have staying power. You're not a one-hit wonder.
Yes.
If I'm a retailer and I have a case or I have a shelf, that means you're coming in, somebody's going out. So are you going to last?
Yeah.
Do you have enough staying power to make it for a few seasons? Are you serious about the business? Is it we've seen a lot of brands over the years come and go, or the celebrity bag of the moment, and they just don't have the fortitude to stay. So sometimes those stores are going to wait it out a little bit before you get that order. Now, the thing that I like about trade shows and the strategy is it is the one tactile experience that you can have where they can touch and feel and see and try on
the product.
Yeah.
And then I think also, like what I say, create a curated thread to connect all buyer touch points. Like what I mean by that is if you're going to reach out via email, right? Whatever you include in that email, whatever the content is, make sure that when you reach out, through social media, or if you create, let's say, a video about your product, that you're telling the same story. And then maybe at the booth, you actually have that also incorporated in your booth so that when a buyer walks past, they have enough muscle memory about seeing your brand and the thread that you created for them to come in. Right? So really think about creating an experience all the way through. And the trade show is kind of like your stage, like your tactile, in-person human stage that you can then have them immersed in that experience. Yeah. Yeah, and like what we said, personalization really matters. Segmenting your buyer list by category, store type, and size for targeted messaging that resonates. And then you want to make sure that you're really referencing their current inventory and store aesthetic, right? A boutique in Florida, let's say South Florida versus even North Florida, who happens to be coming to New York, has a completely different aesthetic than a boutique in Connecticut, right? And if you segment all of your stores by region, then you can actually leverage that content to then send out information that's more personalized. And then highlight products that align with their brand positioning. And then, like we said, use multi-channel outreach, right? Email campaigns with compelling subject lines, clear calls to action, use LinkedIn for key decision makers, and then also use phone, video, and mail outreach for, premium or VIP buyer relationships. Like if you have this set target list of buyers and you really want to have your product there, then make sure that you are reaching out to them in the most personalized way possible. Yeah. And incentivizing buyer engagement. You can do exclusive show offers, but I think something that's really, really important is that value in every touch is like very important. So just like deeply researching buyers and stores will instill trust in them. And then that's going to forge a connection. And then the most powerful form of urgency isn't really manufactured. So I think sometimes when you say, oh, buy one, get one free, or the stock is running out, that doesn't necessarily work. What really works is you solving an actual problem that they have, right? So is there a void in their assortment, right? You went to their store or you saw what they had online and you say there is white space that we actually cover, or there's a void that you have, or we are able to provide immediate inventory, and then also you can place orders without MOQs, right? Those are actual problems that buyers have. So really thinking about that when you're reaching out to them. And then to your point of digital integration, QR codes for instant catalog access, mobile appointments or social media engagement, and then just a digital trade show, right? If you can.
Does having, like your product, your belts are very specific. Do
Yeah.
people ask for fixtures, display, like thinking through how are they gonna display it in the
All the
store?
way, yes. So that's, I think, incredibly important too. Thinking about how is your product going to actually sit in the store, right? And then how are you going to train that sales staff for them to be able to sell the product line? And, all of our products come with QR codes. So when a customer tries on a product, they're able to see videos that we've created that shows them all the ways to tie them, style them. So it's kind of like a sales associate on the go.
We have questions.
Oh, yes,
We don't want
perfect.
to ignore them,
No.
but do we want to?
Yeah. Or do we want them to say it before
Do you
we
want to
read it?
You want to wait to the end?
Oh, we can do it now.
Do it
Yes.
now? Okay, why don't you read
Sure,
the
why
first
not?
one?
Okay, so the first one is about the direct mail. She really likes your direct mail advice. Is there any thoughts on a call to action, maybe scheduling a meeting or stopping by the booth?
Yes, so both, definitely have your booth information obviously on there, coming by the booth. And then I would have a QR code where they could schedule an appointment, right? To make it like very, very easy for them. But you should have all of your booth information. At times, you can get very creative by like drawing it if you know where it's gonna be on the back. But I would highly, highly suggest having a QR code that like has all the information for them to schedule an appointment, for them to reach out to you directly, and always have a QR code also to download if you want line sheets or if you have a specific brand book as well. So what I would say is having like a landing page, if you can, that you create for your QR code that has all of this information.
And then the next one is how do you identify or find targeted buyers or retailers, influencers, and get their contact information?
So the actual buyer contact information.
Yes, such as name, phone number, email.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you have to visit a lot of websites. So it's literally going to all of the websites that are provided. And if it's a specialty boutique, there will always be an about us that usually speaks about the owner or the buyer, and that's where you will have contact information and their phone number. So calling the boutique or their buying office if it's a specialty boutique. And then if it's a medium size where it's more of a chain, then LinkedIn is really great. But then also actually calling a store location and asking for the information. And part of the consulting that I do is providing scripts for all of this, right? So having a script that basically tells you, what you should ask for, how the cadence of the conversation should go, because that makes it so much easier to break the ice. And then a list of all of the information that you should be asking. And then of course, then there's LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn, especially if you're reaching out to a major retailer, is usually where you will find email and that information. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, recently, we were looking up some buyer names and I had a list.
Mm-hmm.
I drug the list into just a chat. GPT,
Yes.
And I asked it to give me the headquarters of each of the retailers who own the store and the contact information. And I would say, with the exception of, it was maybe like 15, 20 brands, maybe 2 were wrong.
Yes.
But it was a really good and quick way to start getting some of that information. Some of the websites will have a contact on us, like contact us. Other ones are going to make you fill out your form, like, for our information, go here. I skip those. And then I go into, like you said, a LinkedIn is a great way to find people.
Yes.
Sometimes if you just Google the email address, you can kind of figure it out. Like it might say Kate Giverson at store or Karen.Giverson at store, then you can experiment with
Absolutely
figuring it out.
Yes, and then also Rocket Reach is another really great website that is it has shared professional contact information, but truly if it's specialty boutiques, it's picking up the phone and it's giving them a call, which you should see it as a huge opportunity, because then you're able to then ask so much more information. What are you buying for right now? What works, in this category? And it's like anything else, the more and more that you do it, the more comfortable you're going to feel doing it, the more confident you're going to feel doing it. And if you're going to be selling to buyers in person at a trade show, then we should definitely start picking up the phone because that's going to help break the ice.
And the other thing I remind them is if you're doing that at a trade show, also do the post-show follow-up.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I hear from buyers. I went over to this new designer and I gave them my card and I told them to follow up with me and they never called. And it was one of the most important buyers in the industry and they just didn't follow up. So make that critical. Make sure, we give a tool to track people by just scanning their badge. But if you take a business card, if you scan a badge, have a system for keeping track and making sure you and your team, if you have a team, are following up after the fact with these buyers. Even if you think that it was nothing, it might not have been nothing. And you don't know unless you try and stay after them. And maybe you're just establishing a relationship for a long term that'll lead to something, or maybe it's an immediate sale, but you have to follow up on each and every one.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And I'll talk a bit more about post show as well, but definitely post show is key. That's where you see closing sometimes even like 20% more business, because again, the trade show itself is like your anchor, but what happens what happens during, and what happens after is all part of that investment.
I'd also like to add one more website for information, Zoom info.
Oh, yes.
And also get information on Zoom info.
Yeah. And I would say a really great starting point to not overwhelm yourself if you're really just starting off is looking at the trade show, website and seeing what is the list of, buyers that they know that start there. And then, it in some of the services or when I work with different companies in consulting, it's mapping out, okay, this is the region that we're going to start off, and then we're going to go after, let's find 20 in this region, and then we move on to the next, and then the next, and then the next, so that it's not so overwhelming.
Yeah. In the professional stalker zone too. You
Yes.
can also go on to find the Instagram
Yes.
brands that you love, or sometimes showrooms that you love, and see what retailers they're following. Because you may find a few good ones in that mix that you hadn't thought of.
Absolutely.
I'm a stalker like her.
Yeah.
I would tell my vendors, if you go on, so we adhere to the California Privacy Act.
Yes.
So we're unable to share buyer lists, but there's ways around it if you are very, if you're resourceful. So if you go on our website, we definitely have testimonials from buyers that come. So right there you have information. And also if you see who's exhibiting with us, if you go on their websites and see who they're selling to,
Yes.
times those are the stores coming to our show. So it already kind of gives you an idea of who's coming, but we also target the audience that's coming. So if you partner with us, we're able to reach that audience for you so it doesn't feel like you're stalking.
Yes.
So that's definitely something that we do to
Yeah.
help you reach that audience, reach that buyer.
Which is amazing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I did have a question. So going back to what you said, Karen, what are top brands utilizing? How are they utilizing AI? Are there any AI strategies that you've seen emerge that brands can utilize?
When it comes to trade show preparation, I mean, you can use it to literally try to build out a strategy for you. I'm going to be attending this trade show, and this is the type of brand that I have. This would be my target buyer. Can you let me know, like, what would be a plan for me to start off preparing? Or what Karen said, let's say that you're going to be doing a show in New York. This is my target audience. Can you give me a list of 30 stores? Right? Like, so really using it, breaking down the steps, like the prior steps that were there, and looking at every single step and asking, okay, what would I do here for my brand? And then if you have a website, it's going to pull all of that information, and then it will do that. It can also help you maybe creating script if you are going to be reaching out to buyers, right? It can help you And obviously with anything, but especially with AI, right? It's that it does 80% of the work, and then you do about 20% of the work, which is adding the human element and then adding your own personal tone, which is incredibly important for it to resonate.
One other thing, have you seen it emerging in the actual display or how people are showing product in AI?
Yes, I mean, I think also, I mean, AI helps with visual presentation, right? How if you were to ask a question like, I will be showcasing at this jewelry show, this is the type of product that I have. Can you give me some ideas on how to present this in a way that is creative? You know, think about what is your objective, right? Do you want your and include notes about your aesthetic, right? It will help you do that.
Yeah, we just saw a tech demo yesterday. It was remarkable. I was playing with it this morning. You can put a PowerPoint into with a specific chatbot. It'll turn it into a video presentation. So you can embed your video. It's not perfect, but it's pretty darn close.
I've been putting PowerPoints into
Yeah.
and having it turn into something else, but never a video.
You could turn it
Yeah.
into like a, hey, it's, I'm gonna be at the show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and sending that in an email, right, to a buyer, right, like a personal invitation, and then you can do an entire video series of like, this is behind the brand, right? These are or behind your supply chain, right? What was your design story for the season, and really that element of storytelling to connect, and AI can help you create those videos very quickly.
We have a couple more. How do you find out which trade shows your targeted retailers attend to find the right trade show for you? I know you touched on a little bit this AI, but
Yeah.
So for us, we know which retailers are coming, so we're able to share that information. We have the data. We know we have small regional, chain stores. We know we have the big independents and the big mom and pops and the smaller boutiques. So it's really having a discovery call with someone who works at the trade show that's selling their own space. Having a discovery call is number one, and they should know who comes to their show.
Absolutely. So yeah, reaching out to the trade show and having a discovery call and asking them, hey, I'd like to learn more about what buyers actually come and walk your show. But most shows also have a list of buyers or of retailers who attend. And you can look at it that way.
is there a platform where you can upload an Excel file and have the list pre-addressed and mailed out?
Yes. I mean, meaning like
a mailer?
Like a mailer? Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's so many you can just upload it to there's so many invitation websites that will then just automatically send them out. Yeah.
But I would make sure it's customized.
Yes.
Mailer is, if you just put a flyer in an envelope, you're just wasted your stamp in the.
Yeah. And I think really thinking about anything that you send to a buyer, and it's a touch point to your brand, right? So I know that, if somebody's just starting out, they're like, I just have samples and I have this big idea, but think about every single form of communication is the buyer experiencing your brand, whether you're small, medium, or large. So if you're sending out snail mail, think about what is going to be the experience that they're going to have, right? When they open that up, or if it's a postcard, or if you're sending a video, like what is the quality of the video? What, making sure that every single form of communication really is a representation of your brand.
In all of your experience, this may be a strange question, but when you're communicating with the buyer 6-7 times, right? And they have not really responded.
Yes.
At what point, or is there a certain word or language that they use where it just means absolutely not?
Well, they will tell you absolutely,
Absolutely
not.
not.
And that has
They use your
happened
word.
so many times, and that's okay, right? Because you're trying to create a connection, and it might be they don't have any open to buy, they're really busy, it's not the right time, and it means like to their point, it means you have to show up again and you have another season. I always think about every season is another opportunity for you to show up again. And now I feel like every month is another season, right? So like you can reach out to a buyer with, hey, I have immediate stock available and I'm seeing that there's this huge trend happening. Would you be, but obviously presenting it in a way that's high quality, right? But like you can reach out every single month to someone if you have new product or a new brand story to tell, or if you notice that, I also had a knitwear brand as well. And if I noticed that there was a void, like there were no specific type of scarves that they were carrying, then I would reach out to them and say like, hey, I see there's this huge void in your assortment and we actually have some really amazing stock right now. And then that was when it would work because they were like, oh, I actually do have a need for that. And you reached out to me and I have time to talk to you because it's not in the middle of trade show season, right? But maybe I originally met them at the trade show. So it's constantly making sure that you reach out. And if you reach out 6 times and if they don't say yes, then try again next season. Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
What is, you mentioned an example of like what not to do in conversation with the buyer of like, hey, how are you? And having it kind of go nowhere. I'm wondering if you can talk a little bit more about what a good like intro looks like to a buyer and kind of like how to capture that engagement so that they're like actually in a meaningful conversation with them.
Face to face.
Yeah,
At a
like
trade show.
at a trade show.
At a trade show.
Yeah.
So I think to her point, it's, obviously making sure that you are, very open and welcomed and you're engaged and you're present, right? I would even say that prior preparation really helped a lot. So when you're doing all of this research, you're literally going to start to memorize store names, buyers, you're going to see faces that you saw on their website or on social media. There would be so many times that a buyer would walk up and they would have a badge and I would be like, oh my gosh, I don't know, Jessica from Tootsie's. Hi, how are you? It's Vanessa. It's so nice to meet you. I've reached out to you a few times. And they would be like, oh yeah, I got your email or I got your card, right? And then I would say, I'm so happy to see you. I'm so happy to actually get to meet you in person. Thank you for making the time. And then I would say like, oh, come on in. And then from there, specifically with whatever product line, I would say, just to tell you a little bit about our collection, all of our products are handmade in Argentina. We work with Argentinian leather. And then they would probably say like, yeah, I noticed this one specific belt. And then I would start telling them like just to let you know a little bit about our leather. Our leather is really lightweight, it's really supple, and the reason why women love our belts is because it actually molds to their body. And then I would actually start showing them, right? So it's really engaging them and bringing them in. So it's creating a script that then becomes natural. And it's not a script, it's just like these are the talking points. So if you have a jewelry line, where are your products made? What materials do you use? What inspired you to start the collection, right? Mm-hmm. And then from there, asking them, is there anything specific that you're really looking for this season? And then letting them, watching their body language and seeing what they gravitate towards, right? And then from there, you really start to build that relationship. You will feel the most comfortable once you do a lot of the research because then you'll instantly know what what they carry. So like, let's say Tootsie's is like a specialty boutique in the South, so I'll just use them. Mm-hmm. I would say like, oh, you're located like, let's say the store in Charleston, right? I would be like, oh my goodness, like I would talk about Charleston a little bit and about like, what is it that we see works really well there? What is it that the Charleston girl loves to wear there, right? That makes a natural and engaging conversation. But it's really thinking about what are the key things that I want to share about my product line. And that's like going more into your value chain, right? What is the value of your product and what makes it special?
Yeah. The only thing I would add to that, I think that's amazing advice, is there are gonna be times, of course, someone's coming in that you don't have the research on.
Yes.
You don't know, right?
Yeah.
In those cases, asking questions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Just engage them because they love talking about their business
Yes.
and themselves, and engage them in questions that'll lead you down the right path of what you need to know what you're pitching them on. And the other piece of advice I'd give is don't judge anyone
No.
by the way they look and assume whether or not they have buying power.
Totally.
Because you'll be surprised how young everybody's getting with buying power. You know, back in the day, you would say, you know, women versus men, don't judge anyone because you just never know who's walking by and who they are and what power they have. Just assume every single person has that power when you're talking to them.
Super helpful.
There's
Thank
a
you.
great book called How to Wow. And it's been out for probably 15 years, but it's got the best advice on, you know, just little tips on how to present yourself that are super effective. Buy that book.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And just to add, yeah, I think ask a lot of questions. Like, let's say that you haven't done the research and somebody just walks past, and it's asking questions, and it's, you know, and I think it's kind of having even like a list of questions in your mind, like, where is their store located? What type of products do they sell? Is it a gift shop? Is it a shoe store? Is it an apparel store? You know, what are their customers like? What is it that works really well for them? You know, like, is there something that they're looking for this season? Like, actually asking them questions. What delivery are they looking for? Like, are they looking for immediate? Are they looking for spring? Or are they just like looking, you know? I think that that's asking questions and feeling comfortable asking those questions.
That's great.
And if you take Mona's advice and you have someone else in your booth, make sure they can
Yes.
answer all questions.
Yeah.
They know to answer about your delivery and your
Very
product
true.
line and your prices, because that doesn't always happen either.
It absolutely doesn't, and it's the worst to go in as a buyer going in, if, you know, with our press hat on and saying, oh my God, this is amazing. And they look at you like, I don't know who, I don't know what graphic to send you to, or our marketing person isn't here, or it's just like, okay, well, let me grab your card, and you know, lost opportunity. So yeah, prep. That's what you're doing. That's
Yeah.
How often do you recommend following up post-show?
So if we can move on to that, I think I talk about it a bit later with post show. Oh yeah, pre-show. So post show. Oh, I mean we've talked to. Yeah, let's just keep. So here we go. So long-term nurturing, right? So you want to make sure. So let's say that you collect qualified information systematically using whether it's lead forms, always making sure that you either, if you're writing it down or if you're scanning or you're snapping a photo of their badge, whatever it is, then you want to, when you get a moment, make sure all the information is correct, then an immediate follow-up. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming to to our booth and to meeting with us. And we usually say do that within 24 hours of the trade show ending. And then we would usually I write notes about all of the products that they liked and then sending them a summarized line sheet. These were your favorite products. These were the key things that you liked, and then personalized things that they said. And then propose next steps to maintain momentum. So we'd love, for you to finalize your order, and then either a link to finalize it or whatever it is that you want to do. And then long-term nurturing, you want to make sure that you follow up with them usually for 3 weeks after. So you have to think a buyer's going to go back, they're going to be writing orders, they're settling back in, and then depending on what type of business it is, right? If it's a specialty boutique, if it's medium, or if it's a larger buyer, they all have different processes. So I would say 3 weeks. Yeah.
When you're at the trade show, how do you maximize opportunity if you have minimal signage at the booth or table and you're not as visible compared to other brands?
You do a lot of pre-show calling, emailing, and like you want to create a campaign. Like I said, 60 days, if you can, 90 days before, 60 days before, 30 days before, that's going to get them there, right? You have to incentivize them to get them to the booth. And then after, incentivize them to keep talking. So it's really important for you to call, email, use video, use social, use LinkedIn to get them there.
Well,
And
Lisa,
I
I
wanted to
just
add
say,
something. to
yeah,
that.
how did
Yeah,
Yeah,
you-
so we've had people at the show, they get there, they're just not getting that traction that they were looking for, but don't give up, you're there, you definitely have to maximize your time. So use your salesperson to get the marketing team over to do some on-site social media for you.
the show marketing?
The
Yes.
show marketing team, we come around, we make sure we give you some love and we like let people know that you're there. We also have a press office. So utilize the press as well, because I've seen people leave the show and be happier that they met some of the press contacts that they were looking for, you know, over any kind of retailer, because they knew the long-term success that they would have because they met the press team that they wanted. So when you're on site, definitely reach out to your contact, see if you can get some marketing, you know, social media love, and then also if they have a press room and you have your own social media, definitely don't just sit there and, you know, get discouraged. You're there and you just have to keep that your presence, you know, and keep your energy level as high as you can. Find out if there's any networking event that you can go to. So, you know, for our show, we have events taking place during the show, after the show. Try to get out after the show. You might meet someone in the restroom. So it doesn't, you know, your booth location is important, but don't rely on it to bring you that traffic. Definitely think of ways that you can get that reach without, you know, giving up. So events that are taking place.
So much good.
Yeah.
You just said every show has an organization. There's the WJA, there's other optical women's groups. There's, you know, try to find, there's under fashion clubs. So whatever show you're in, try to figure out like what else is happening and how do you get to be a part of that. It's a great way to meet people in a casual, natural experience. And the press thing, it's funny, we do press events, now we invite retailers. When we do retail events, we invite the press because it's all plus, plus, plus. So while you're targeting the retailers, thinking about who's at the show, who's covering the show, who might discover you at the show, I think super important. A question that I would have for really all of you is, you know, new brands are competing with big brands who have big budgets and maybe they've invested in their booth. They have, you know, they have stored their booth. They have these amazing visuals. How do you stand out when you're just starting and you don't have a giant budget for your display?
Yeah. I mean, I would say what worked for us, and you know, even with when I have the knitwear brand, it's really about the pre-show and being really creative. It's about we're in the fashion industry, right? We have that like endless amount of creativity to right in us. So for us, it was really about telling the story of our brand as much as we possibly could through email, through video, with line sheets, or I didn't really send out line sheets as much because we wanted to make sure that they came to the actual to the actual trade show or at the booth, right? But custom brand books, a lot of like storytelling and editorial images, right? So think about like if you have an Instagram and that attracts customers, a buyer is the same thing. It's the same exact thing. So I would say leveraging digital in-person experiences to like going into stores and introducing yourself, letting them know that you're going to be at the trade show. All of that layered together will go so far, and they will actually come try to find you at the trade show, or if they're walking past, they will stop. Right. So again, it goes back to like just the basic psychology of if you reach out to a buyer 6 to 7 times, you're going to start to actually make an impact.
I agree. Creativity, for sure. If you have a smaller budget, find a way to disrupt the way that you're exhibiting your pieces. You know, I found a lot of the smaller designers, they were very creative in how they displayed. They would, you know, have, I'm just gonna throw it out there, like a piece of wood, like a branch or something. They have rings on there. Just they found a way to like really show their merchandise in not the typical way on the stand, you know, very like standard way. So creativity goes a long way. Color without spending a lot of money. Making sure your displays match, you know, just the presentation and just those really basic things kind of give you the edge because a lot of times the bigger guys, starts to get boring because they bring that same booth every year, right? And so we know with our show, people are looking for novelty, they're looking for new. And so if you come in with that creativity, like you mentioned, and just a way to disrupt the way that you're displaying your merchandise, you're really gonna make a mark on the buyer.
Plan ahead, don't wing it. Like you got handbags, make sure you have stuffing to stuff your handbags. You have hooks, you have the display things that you need on your own self. So you are not hunting down all those things at the last minute. Think about what are the materials, not just the product you're bringing, but the materials you need to make it look great. Jewelry, you can put it on stands. There's so much you can do with jewelry. Other accessories, frankly, belts are really hard to display and make them look pretty unless you've done something creative.
Yeah, which we had custom belt holders that were designed, and we'd have on the wall. It would be, and a huge part of our brand is color, right? So it would be creating these amazing color stories that buyers, when they would walk past, would be like, oh my goodness, like, and that's, I mean, we're in the creative industry, so really thinking about that, right? To your point of leveraging color. And I think another way to really think about it is imagine that you are on the shelf space at a large retailer. It doesn't matter how big of a company you are. Sometimes you have this much space. Sometimes you have that much space, depending on whatever your products are. But really think about that. Like your booth is technically like shelf space in a store. So like, if you got to be in a store, how would you present your brand?
The other thing I'd add to it is also partner, as Mona said earlier, partner with your contact at the show.
Yeah.
Buyers are looking for new, so ask them, are there ways where you're promoting new? So for example, Karen mentioned we're starting an accessories area, JCK, calling it the Lifestyle Pavilion. We're going to be putting a ton of marketing around this pavilion because it's new. So the first year getting involved in something like that, it will get your name out there so much more because the first year we're talking about this to all of our buyers is what's new. I get asked in the press every year, what's new at JCK? Well, this year, that's one of the main things I'm going to be talking about and mentioning some of the brands that are in there. Marketing is going to list the brands that are in there. So getting involved in something new, and if it's not a new pavilion like that, ask them, do you have a way that you promote new things, and how do you promote that? I'm new in the show and I want to stand out. There could be very inexpensive ways to do that, or even free ways to do that through the show. And then the other thing is graphics. As was mentioned, you can put, like, we have our turnkey booths that are the most inexpensive booths, and you can, for a small upgrade through the contractor, put a graphic on the entire back wall booth. Some great lifestyle shot or some great branding shot. It's not that expensive to have your entire back wall with that, and you will look like the highest end brand just by doing that.
Really great, really
And-
great advice.
And video too. So leveraging video. I mean, if you have, it's your own brand voice, your own brand personality, right? Like that can come out through if you have a screen and you have like a creative frame around it and you have campaign videos that are playing, like that's going to bring more life into your product, which will then bring, which will be a tool to attract.
So it's making the show your partner. I know, some of the food drug mass shows, ECRM and ACDS, they do a lot for first time exhibitors in an exceptional way. The PGA show used to have tables that you could put their cocktail party for the buyers the night before, so it's a great way to display and meet. I know the Curve show's doing things for us that are going to be special. I'm so excited to see what happens at JCK, because I think it's just an amazing opportunity for our brands to find new retail outlets that they haven't bought
It's funny you bring up PGA, because that's one of our shows,
Oh,
and that
yeah.
ties to the fact of if you're looking for a different audience.
Yes.
Ask your trade show
They're
partner,
very good.
because you never know, like, we have the vision show, we have the PGA
Mhm.
show in our building, so. You know, you never know who you're talking to, might have good advice on what the other markets are out there and how to reach them.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then just like a very just key point is that, you know, like key ROI metrics beyond booth traffic, success is really measured through like qualified leads, conversion rates, and actual orders generated. It's not just that, right? So you want to make sure, to your point of like, if you are able to make press contacts, if you are able to leverage the fact that you're showing in New York at a show, and then that actually opens the door to a boutique in LA, or you're able to then start a conversation with a major retailer, right? Like you can reach out to every single major retailer and say, hey, we're going to be showing at this show. I would love to meet with you. We're not, if they say we're not attending, oh, okay, not a problem. Let's schedule a meeting and I'll come to your office, right? Like you can leverage all of this. So it's really thinking about being very intentional and strategic, obviously, but I think the great thing to know that the average ROI increase with strategic planning is 40% and plus. That how much more you can actually get on a return on investment on a trade show if you do strategic planning and you actually layer communication, you're intentional, you do your research, you ensure that your booth is a representation of your brand and that the person who is in your booth space is actually going to be captivating and also prepared to sell the product. And then you do your post-show.
So I want to be cognizant of time.
Yeah.
We're fine. You can stay as long as you want, but, and we can keep talking for as long as everybody wants to
No,
continue, but I do want to just ask a little bit more about what you're doing at JCK so we can understand before we lose anyone. I know, but I want you to share it with.
Yeah, definitely. So we knew years ago that a lot of the retailers that were coming, some of their needs were not being met. And we do a lot of surveying. We have a lot of data that showed that maybe 15% of our audience was looking for accessories. And we maybe could only meet 5% of their needs. And we think the number is much higher, but a lot of retailers, when they're registering, they don't always fill out the questions. But also what's happening in the industry, you're seeing a lot of stores diversify their products. And so it's just the perfect time to really introduce the lifestyle pavilion at JCK. And JCK has always been the leading trade show for jewelry. It's a very international, plus, biggest show in the Western Hemisphere. But we didn't want to just address the jewelry needs. We wanted to expand. I mean, we also have a lot of AI technology, equipment, supplies. And so accessories was the next area that we wanted to grow the show in. And so this year we have launched the Lifestyle Pavilion. It is located in a really great area of the show floor. I don't know if anybody here has attended JCK.
So it's at the Venetian.
It's at the Venetian.
In Las Vegas.
Las
Yeah.
Vegas. And it's a yearly event.
And the dates?
May 29th through June 3rd. Sorry, that's,
It's early June.
Early June.
Early June.
Early
Oh,
June.
yes, the flyer.
Yeah,
All
there's a flyer. And so it's a yearly event. We pushed it up this week. We pushed it up a week. Usually the date pattern is the first week of June, but we are actually starting the show May 29th, but May 30th, excuse me. It's a 4-day show. And we have a lot of majors that come to the show, all of the department stores, the Signets of the world, and all of the high-end jewelry stores, boutiques, and lifestyle stores also attend. Online retailers, cruise ships, just a variety of businesses come. And as you know, when you walk into a jewelry store now, you see all kinds of merchandise inside of the store. And so we're just very excited about the launch.
So
To add the lifestyle.
I think the cool thing about this show is it really is like one big one a year. So you don't miss this. You know, if you're going to be in the industry, you're interested in the category in those stores, this is the one.
Yeah, we know a
Yeah.
lot of our buyers only
Yeah.
come to JCK. They say that they're very busy. The difference with JCK compared to other accessories shows or other jewelry trade shows, you get a lot of high value buyers that walk into the show. And so the audience has the buying power to really take a chance on a new line and to really try things out. So that is the power and the difference of JCK, the power of the buyer that comes.
How many of your exhibitors, how many do you have, and how many come to the show with a line that they're showing for the first time, where they haven't actually produced inventory, but they're waiting to get orders? Like how?
It depends on who's exhibiting, like a smaller designer, they'll come with a sample line. So they'll come with a line, they'll test the market. It's really a great place to do a lot of market research, right?
Yeah.
So, they'll come to the show with their sample line and with conversations with the retailers that come to them, they figure out whether or not they need to start an introductory line, maybe something a little bit more affordable. We've had designers come in with pieces that start at 5,000, but after doing the show, they realize maybe I need to have another line, another collection, just to like really, I connected with this buyer, they really want to bring my brand into their store, but the price point doesn't work for their customer. So we've had people also come in and say, I was only offering this in gold, but maybe now I would do silver. And so it really is a good place to go with your collection and really have the retailer help you sometimes develop how you will move forward and what you will, produce.
Vanessa shaking her head.
Yes.
You experiment at the shows.
Yes, we definitely did. That's where like our collection with Swarovski was born. It actually was, it was at a show that we used to do in Paris, and the buyer happened to be walking past, and we had a jewelry collection at the time, and our jewelry collection used Swarovski crystals, but they were purchased, right? They were not any leather, and she saw it and she was like, oh my goodness, can we do like a collection together? And yeah, that has happened so many times. Guest by Marciano, that was another, we did a lot of private label business for them, and we met them at a trade show. And a lot of like Anthropology, they carry our line, and we also initially met them at a trade show after doing a lot of outreach, and then finally the buyer was like, oh my goodness, and then there's that moment where it clicks, and it took showing up multiple times. Yeah, I think it's
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
You did.
Okay.
Do we have, where's the party? We have questions.
One more over here. If you know the specific retailer that is going to be at the trade show, what is the easiest way to find the buying team or a specific buyer within a team? She said she's been having problems with LinkedIn, and sometimes people's emails have filters on their inboxes,
Call.
etc.
Pick up the phone.
Yeah, call. I'm like, if she would tell me which one it is, then I can tell her. Tell her to reach out to me. I think my email is on the,
Can we share the presentation to this?
oh, yes, absolutely.
So
yes.
we'll share the presentation with
Yeah.
everyone who
Yeah,
came.
Yeah.
Great, okay.
perfect.
Go.
So, yeah, there'd be more.
Yeah, but I think we've pretty much, I think, have touched base on everything.
You asked a question that I thought was interesting, and it was something we were talking about, and I think you'll probably have some good thoughts, is we've talked all the things about what you should do. What are some of the things that maybe you shouldn't do?
I would say sending out a mass email that, you send it out to like 500 or 1,000 buyers, that maybe it's not going to resonate. Like I would think about just really thinking about localized, like send it out to 200 that are like within a certain region or a certain type. Yeah. I think that's one no. I would say, not doing any sort of preparation and then just showing up at a trade show, I would say that is maybe the biggest no-no, because then you're just wasting money.
Showing up with, is there a checklist of things that one needs to have?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you actually have an exhibitor manual. We do on our website. And so again, your salesperson, and we also have a customer success team. So along with your salesperson and the customer success team, they help guide you to the show month by month. And so once that exhibitor manual becomes available, it really gives you every step that you need to really be successful.
So if somebody signed up now, you're gonna start working with them now.
Correct. You don't wait 3 months in advance. I mean, that's when things ramp up and
Yeah.
right, 90 days is really that sweet spot when you really want to be in everyone's radar. We have data to show that that's when our website gets the most traffic. We have those numbers. It's something like 400,000 unique views the month before the show alone. So if your website, your individual website that we give you on our site is not really up to date and really maximized, you're going to really lose that critical time that the buyer is looking to do all their research and make their list.
So you want to be committed in advance, loaded up in advance, and all that research you can do in advance. So when it's the 90 days, you're ready to reach out.
You're ready to go and you already have you on their list. And our tool will show you who's visited your website, who's kind of bookmarked you to see you on site. It can actually even help you prepare and what merchandise to bring. Maybe I need to bring more of this.
App? Do you have an app?
We show.
No.
So we do have an app, but it wasn't like used to have navigational. It's a like more pared down app. So yeah, we do have an app. Yeah, we do.
You mentioned the lifestyle pavilion.
Yes.
What products are those? If they're new and they're not typically the jewelry, what do you have? Show?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't really go into detail, but handbags, leather goods, candles, crystals, things that you would find in the gift section of a store or boutique. So, and the price ranges are, all over the place because we have all kinds of stores that come in. So if somebody has a high-end store and they're selling a $5,000 necklace, they might want to still have like $100 add-on gift or something for someone else that comes in with that buyer. So any price point actually, something that you want to give a chance, into the jewelry store.
Thank you.
What do you sell?
No,
What do you-
I designed intimate apparel,
Oh, nice.
but I have this thing about a certain type of jewelry that I have made samples, I've shown Irene, and I really think it could work. It's very different.
So that's the
It's not
whole
weird.
rest of the show.
It's not
Yeah.
weird,
That's not the lifestyle pavilion, that's the rest of the show.
Yeah.
but it doesn't quite fit to the jewelry category the way that you think it would.
So talk to us.
Yeah, definitely.
We can guide you whether it makes sense in the
I
show
would
or
love you to
not.
say, oh my God, you lost your mind.
So, okay, so if we're listening, we're a jewelry brand, we're probably everybody that sees if they're a jewelry brand, probably fashion jewelry. Or, so that wouldn't go into an accessory pavilion?
So we've talked a lot about JCK, but we also have 2 shows in Miami that are more in the fashion space. And those shows also are gonna have a lifestyle pavilion, but would be probably a better fit for what you're talking about. So again, talking to us, telling, we're gonna try and figure out what's the right fit for you. So those are a smaller show where it's a little bit more regional, but it pulls from the Caribbean and the cruise ships in Latin America as well as Florida. And that is more in the fashion space. JCK is more fine, although we do have a fashion bridge pavilion. It's fine fashion.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna.
Well, there's a smaller silver downstairs, so we do have a cash and carry section of the portion of the show. And then behind there's like a silver section as well. And it's really, the show is set up more about how you sell your merchandise, whether you do cash and carry or if you're order writing. So we kind of segmented the show that way and also in categories just to help the buyer shop. So
But our lifestyle pavilion is less about jewelry
Okay.
and more about all the other
Other-
things
yeah.
that. One of the things, as a market leader in the jewelry space, one of the things we try and do is also help our retail stores to be more successful. So we try to introduce them to things that are gonna make them more successful, whether it's activations and experiences they could be doing in their store, or in this case, we see the very successful retailers, as Mona mentioned, are carrying some of these gifts and accessories lines, so we want to introduce that to the stores that aren't yet doing it. And that's the focus of this pavilion.
That silver area, the cash and carry felt more, less branded to
Mhm.
me and
Right.
more like I need to pick up
Correct.
10 chains to go with the
But then we
charms.
also have our bridge pavilion on level 2, which is fashion. It's the fashion bridge
Right.
pavilion.
I'd say most of our brands would be in the
In the bridge.
bridge.
Yeah.
So again, we can help find whether it's our Miami show, our Vegas show, you know, or the right area within the show, once we understand what it is we're looking for.
What's the Miami show called?
JIS.
Okay.
And when is that?
That is twice a year. It's in the spring and in the fall. It's usually October and either February, March.
Any other things to avoid?
My goodness, let's see, so no preparation at all. I would say failing on the post show. Not doing post show outreach is really such a waste of your investment. And yeah, I would say do post show outreach, and something that just came to mind. Part of the system that I've created is actually reaching out to almost the entire list again post show and just saying, hey, we missed you at the show. We would love a chance to connect. Should we send you line sheets? Do you want to schedule a Zoom call? Or could one of us pop into your store?
Which you mentioned the other day, I thought was brilliant. Like if they're in that zone, you're in Vegas, and they didn't make it to the show.
Go
Go
to their
see them.
store.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's, one of the points where the trade show is your anchor. But if you're going to be showing in Vegas, right, then go to LA. It's very quick, or around there. If you're showing in New York, go into stores post show and schedule appointments after the show.
Morgan, you got anything?
I think people are just looking for your contact information.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna send the presentation contact information and also for Monalisa and Sarah, so you can get in touch with them about the JCK show or the Miami show, if you have interest in that. Coming up, we also have the Curve show, which is intimate apparel that has an accessory pavilion in it. They have a very special rate for accessory brands and a rep for buyer success. So we're excited about that. And then, really, we work with a lot of different shows. So our goal is always to make sure our members find the best possible home. But I'm really excited about some of these new opportunities.
We do have a member discount for accessories council members in JCK Lifestyle within that. So
Excellent.
any of the lifestyle non-jewelry brands that wouldn't already been a part
So
of the show.
definitely tell them you are a member.
We're getting a bunch of thank yous over here.
Oh,
great.
okay.
Hope that was all the questions. Okay.
All right. Excellent. Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Vanessa, I so appreciate your time, and Lisa and Sarah, thank you for
Thank you.
coming. We are gonna do a follow-up, so we'll figure out when everybody together.
Yeah.
It's not pending in a huge snowstorm.
Yeah.
Yes. Every time.
It's just tight.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.